Hi everyone. I did a video a while back talking about various styles of journals I've used while travel journals. And I was going to try something new on this trip to England that I just recently took in May. And I did. And I ended up my idea was that it would be a album slash journal. And it turned out to be more of an album, and I've learned a couple of important things, but I thought I'd give you a quick flip through of what I ended up doing, and also let you know the things I've learned and that I will change going forward. So I really like, as I've mentioned in some of my other videos, 3-ring binders. I just think they're so practical and they fit, and I could probably get a fancier one, but anyway, this is what I had and I've used it, and it is very, very full. I don't think I could get another thing in there, but anyway, here it goes. So yeah, I won't talk too much, I hope, but just wanted to show you what I did. The trip was basically divided into 2 parts, walking in the Cotswolds and spending time in the city of York. So yeah, I just started. This page was very, very much more of a junk journal style, and it was the very first page, and I didn't like it, I didn't like it, I didn't like it, and finally I ripped off the components that were on it, added another piece of cardstock, and toned it down some. Told the same story basically, but toned it down. It's my sister and I in the lounge at Seattle Airport. And the reason I kept that page at all was because I liked this page, which was on the other side. So this is just all about getting on the plane and how much I enjoyed being in business class, which was quite a treat. It's going to be tricky. That flips down and talks about the places that we were. Now here is what I started out. These were the pages that I had in the journal. And so this is actually what I wrote as we were on the trip. I got some postcards. Got to have a picture of the Queen, of course. And these darling little tags I got from a pen pal, which are great. This is something I made before just to add some extra brochures and receipts and things. And I started out doing this before I actually had any pictures developed. I couldn't wait any longer. I just wanted to get started. So for some reason, I started using a very heavy cardstock that I have on hand in black. I think it works okay, but the first place we went to in the Cotswolds was Moreton in Marsh, and we stayed at this hotel. This is a compendium. You can take this off and read about that. And then this is a menu from the restaurant that's right there. I do have a selfie, so I printed a few pictures out. Meanwhile, I was waiting for some other larger pictures to be developed, and I've learned some things about that too. But anyway, I wrote about that. That was our first room. This was our shock at finding out that trails in England are very different from trails in the US, and that we really weren't mentally prepared for going through fields and pastures and sort of finding our own way. But we did it, so yay. This is, again, some of this is ephemera, so that in that way it's a little junk journal style. And these are photos I took in Moreton and Marsh. Again, more sort of junk journal style, because this is from the front of the booklet that we got, and this was about how we had to label our bags as they were taken from hotel to hotel. These are some observations and differences from the US and England that my sister wrote, and I liked it, and it was kind of a good way to transition from these pages to what comes next. And then these are, again, things that she wrote and things we just enjoyed so much. So this is the first page. We're getting ready to set off on our first hike. And yeah, that's a little flip up thing. We got a kick out of this. It says beware traffic. And then another sign said elderly people. So I put those together. Thought that was kind of amusing. So here is the beginning of what actually turned out to be the album. And these are just photos and embellishments of one kind or another. Some pages, if they're just flat, I put them in page protectors. Sorry for the glare. Let's see if that helps any. And really struggled with embellishments. I'm not very good at that really, but anyway. So there's that. Little receipt, some pictures, a little story. This is a little bit of a interactive page. We walked from one village to another and had gotten directions. Bourton-on-the-Water is beautiful. Actually, they're all beautiful. There's another. And then again, this opens up. And this is a little more interactive because that opens as well. Tells a little story about the second hotel where we stayed. A little smaller than we were expecting, and I wrote about the full English breakfast, which was wonderful. Here is something I had with me on the trip, and I did use it. A little bit of some of the things we got in the hotel rooms to make our own coffee and tea. And I made this all from an envelope that I opened up. This is a little map of Bourton-on-the-Water and a little story about that. And Mousetrap Inn is where we stayed there. And a little brochure in there. So I did do some sort of junk journal-y type things, but so we met a lovely woman named Carol, and she was extra special, so I wrote about that. In some cases, I typed up the story that went with it. In other cases, I wrote. Next village we went to was Winchcombe. We went into a little gift shop where they also had tours. And Winchcombe is famous for a meteorite that fell. So I found the Wikipedia article on that and wrote that. And then I bought some stamps and things there at the gift shop because I am a junk journaler after all. And this is a little brochure. Oh, this is the brochure that opens up. Just talking about where we stayed. One of the places we walked to from Winchcombe was Sudley Castle, and has a very interesting story to it. Henry VIII's last wife, who, what's the word, continued to live after he died, is buried there. So, and it's actually still owned by a private family. More of a walk from Broadway to Chipping-Campden. And this is just where some of the most beautiful scenery. And this is just kind of what I was visualizing when I wanted to go there. And yeah, it really is that way. I got such a kick out of the sheep. And as I said, the trails are very different than here. You actually walk through pastures and fields and all kinds of things. So here's my sister walking through a pasture of sheep. One of the things I loved about the Cotswold Way is the scenery changes so much. Fields, forests, hills and valleys. It was gorgeous. And this is a lovely woman we met and we've remained friends with. Here we are in Chipping Campton. And again, I'm using some junk journal type stuff. Here's the receipt from the hotel and a little bit about Chipping Campton. These are some postcards I got at a gift shop in Chipping Campton. I love this. I thought that was so cute. More postcards, more pictures. This is talking about, I had done this page before. I did a number of these, so it sort of goes along here, I guess. But this was the first hotel we stayed at, which was really very, very nice. And that is just a little thing from the clotted cream we got. And here I used packaging, actually. This is packaging from the Cornish Bakery. No, from Handmade in the Cotswolds. And wrote a little bit about going back to London and King's Cross Station, which was intimidating, but we made our train and we were on to York. Here we are back on to some pages that I wrote while on the trip that sort of fit in that spot. This is it's a picture of the first place we ate in York, and here's information we got from the owner of the Airbnb where we stayed, and this is the menu of the restaurant that we went to. These are business cards of the various restaurants we went to, as is that. This is a really cute little place where we had coffee and treats. York was just gorgeous too. And so I flipped this out. And here's a brochure. Here is some postcards and more photos. It's probably the most famous street in York. It's the Shambles. More York photos. This is York Minster. And a little brochure about that, which is just spectacular. It's just, you just cannot get how fantastic it is if you're, just from the photos. But anyway, it's amazing, amazing history. The site itself goes back to Roman times, as much of York does. Here is a page I had in my journal that I had with me. I added this picture later, but I wrote this while I was on the trip. And I added these pictures later. And, well, I'll get back to that later. More things I wrote while on the trip, and then I added photos later. This I am quite disappointed with. I loved York Castle Museum, and I figured I was going to use a lot of the pictures I took, so I did this sort of big spread, and I really am not happy with the result. It's too cluttered. I've added, I've subtracted, I've changed. I can't really change the location of the pictures, and I don't want to start over. But anyway, it is what it is, as they say. And it was just a fabulous place. I think it's the best museum I've ever been to. It was awesome. Of course, they had a lot of little interactive things. That's my sister in a car cut out. Then we went for tea. I had to have a picture of myself having tea. There's a map of York. More writing from the trip. And then I added some extra where there was space. This pictures from a brochure. York is famous for its city walls, and we walked along them. There's a little bit of a history about it. And this was while we were on the wall, some views and the wall itself. Here's more interesting information about the walls, and these are photos that I took. Just some postcards I picked up, and a little bit about York there. York is famous for its chocolate, and actually the Kit Kat was invented there. So I have a brochure in there. I got this bag while we took a chocolate tour. So I wrote about that, how much we enjoyed it. Okay, back to pages from the actual trip. We went to another museum, the Railway Museum, and we're not railway aficionados, but this really was another spectacular museum. If you're ever in York, I highly recommend it. And it's great for kids, lots of interactive stuff, and just really quite fascinating. And then here's some brochures I got from there. Here we are on our way back to London to fly home. I love that picture of my sister. There's me. This is a menu from the business class we were able to fly, which was really amazing. Even the flights were awesome on this trip. So some of the food we got on the trip, and here we are on our way home. So that is it. The things I wanted to share, the lessons I learned, let's see. Okay, lesson number 1 is, if you do this sort of thing, but you think you might add pictures later, only write on one side of the paper. That's key. Then you can do whatever you want with it. You could tack it on to a bigger page if you end up doing it in an album type thing like I did. When you write on both sides, that's not really an option if you want to see what's on the other side. Especially, I'm in the middle of a sentence here and I moved on to the next page. So definitely just use one side of the paper, and that's what I'm going to do from now on. The other lesson I learned is to use a heavier paper. Maybe not cardstock, but maybe something like sketch paper or something when you're on the trip. So yeah, that's the completion of my album, which turned out to be more album than junk journal. But the trip was fabulous. And yeah, these are the lessons I learned, and thanks for coming along with me on this, and have a good day. Bye-bye.